the biggest thing when you just play that position that we talk about all the time is controlled aggression. Because you got to be willing, like when the look presents itself, when the hole's there, you got to be ready to rip it, which is a mindset. It's also technique. It's also footwork. It's reps that have been built and trust that have been built with the receivers that are running the routes. So that's like the number one thing we talk about, but then it's quickly followed by what if it's not the right time? What if the hole is just too small? What if a receiver just on this particular rep didn't win? Or, what if you thought it was going to be a look and they rolled to something else? And being able to control those situations and still make a profit on the play, still make it a positive play, get a completion somewhere, gain yards, move forward. I mean, that really is what defines an efficient offense. When you're able to stay ahead of the sticks, when you get on 1st and 10, instead of getting stuck in a 2nd and 10, you get to a 2nd and 6. Like, that's a massive difference for how we can approach the next play. And him being able to understand that, like, that takes a lot of time. It sounds great when we say it. It sounds great on paper. And he even, he would say early in the year, he believed that also. But putting it into practice and understanding the whens and the whys of doing that, I mean, that takes a talented player and a mentally acute player, but also it takes time and reps. And I think he's shown that growth over the course of the year, in particular, like the last 6 games he's played. I mean, he's really been doing a great job in that area. Yeah, I think that's pretty common with everybody across the NFL. At the end of the day, I think the quarterback's the hardest position in sports. So making sure that they have command and confidence in what you're doing and how you're trying to do it. And when you're trying to do it is really important. And, if a lot of that can be facilitated with a good relationship, with good communication, trust, making sure you're on the same page with each other in that area. And, like I said, me and CJ got a rapport pretty quickly because of the preparation he does and how fast we could just get through conversations. Where I think that the trust factor was built quickly, but it still takes some time. And, me and him being able to go back and forth on thoughts, ideas, things we want to put in the game plan, things he likes, things he wants called, things maybe he's not so hot on that might come up later in the game, not earlier in the game. I think that's always a conversation you have to have with people at that position. I think that's pretty common across the NFL. We believe he's playing at an exceptional level, and I don't think that's changed. I think in the run game, the command he has right now of the scheme and of what we're trying to get done has manifested in how we're running the ball. I also think it shows how much better and further our front and our tight ends have come in that area. And just there's holes that are there, and Motor, every time we get the structure we want, the ball's going where we want it to go, and then he's almost always making at least one guy miss. Like we're blocking things for 4, he's getting 7, 8, 9, which that's big time in the run game. And then there's been a couple plays where we might not have had the right structure, or we didn't block it particularly well, and he's made something happen on his own. I think last game, like, we had a 24-yard run, something like that, longest run of the season, and I mean it was not well blocked. I mean, he just went out there and made something happen on his own. We had 2 critical blocks on the play that really helped spring him, but he's playing football at a really high level. He's seeing it really well. He's very confident right now, and that's big when you get to this time of year. Yeah, I'd say early on, we've talked about it before. I'd say early on there were definitely some growing moments as far as situations. I'd probably classify myself as a little more on the aggressive side as far as play calling goes, and knowing when to push it and when to back off a little bit. And I think early in the year there were some lessons there, but then truthfully, since the year's gone on, really past week 4, a lot of it now, growth for me has been more understanding our team and our team understanding me. And like, they get a good feel for my intentions when I call a certain play in certain situations, and I get a good feel of kind of what they're really doing well at the moment and maybe not so well in certain moments, and being able to adjust in real time on that stuff. With our guys and how we've grown week to week to week in different areas, that really to me is where we've taken off from. It's been fun. It's really been fun all year. Not just receivers. I'll circle back to them, but really with the whole offense. It's been pretty neat going back to week 2 and watching our game against Indy, because I think both of us are very different teams now. but then just going through the process of seeing, kind of who is out there at the time, and then remembering kind of how we've cycled through some guys since then, guys that are still out there, guys that were out there and are no longer with us, are injured, stuff like that. Really at every position, at every level, we've had some form of people being in and out, and how our guys have been able to handle that and taking advantage of every opportunity they've been given was actually pretty cool to revisit, because it's, so much of what we do is just next week, the next week, the next week. That kind of having a moment of self-reflection right there was pretty neat. Now, specifically receivers, our group, really, all of them have unique skills and talents, and they all kind of fit pieces of a puzzle, and they do things at elite levels very well. And my job and our job as the offensive coaching staff is really to help make sure we highlight those areas. And I think all of the guys in that room have really taken that and ran with it. And they've wanted to showcase what they're really good at, and they've wanted to work on things that they know are a weakness and they need to improve, and they've done that through the course of 18, 17 weeks, whatever it's been now. And we got to continue that this upcoming week, obviously, with the challenge we have ahead of us. You kind of hit it. Like, Strauss has been phenomenal. It's been a brand new scheme for him. Very, very different from what he's run in the past when he's coached at the NFL level. So, like, even just through the offseason, like the growing moments he had to go through of trying to figure out exactly what it is we wanted done on how I see outside zone, how I see things playing off of outside zone, inside zone, gap scheme, like all the different runs you can have and different emphasis because of the starting point being so different. Like, there was a lot of communication and just growth there. And then all of a sudden you get in season where you're working through the communication of that to the players, and next thing you know, we're cycling through, I feel like a different front five every week. How he was able to keep that together, and Cole Popovich, our assistant O-line coach, really helped in that area also. Like, just those two guys being able to take command, making sure that we have tight game plans that really highlight things that certain guys, when they're in there, they do well, maybe staying away from some things that they struggle with, knowing when we have to maybe manipulate some protections, or maybe knowing when we're good. Like, just there's so many little things in there as a game planner that he did that helped me out. I can't say enough. And then just as a coach and as a person, and how he knows his room, and how he's really gotten a feel for the character of his room, the guys in his room, and really cares about them, and how they're doing. I think it has shown in how they've gone out and they've played for him. There's not much space in the run game, and you don't have a lot of time in the pass game. So that's about as hard as it gets when you're talking about offensive football. A lot of times for us, a lot of what we do starts with the run game to set up play pass. That's not as easy this week for certain. And then when you go drop back pass, the front four, they make sure you play on time and on rhythm, and that's something that we got to be on top of. Starting at the quarterback position, but really all the way across the board, we got to make sure, when the time is right. Like I said, we have controlled aggression and we're putting the ball up, but by and large, we just got to do everything we can to make a profit on every play.